We're trying to find out who killed him, and where, and with what.
There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting! All right, I am. I'm shouting, I'm shouting, I'm shouting!
Hello there, and welcome back to Enigmatic Retro Rewind. And today we're talking about Clue from 1985 because we recently hosted it at Cult Film Club again. And Johann did a very fun-packed introduction.
Oh God, okay.
Do you want to tell us about it?
Well, it was a lot of extra work. It took about 2 weeks of my life organising that because we actually did an actual murder mystery to try and solve my murder in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Someone did, which was amazing because I did leave a lot of clues though. There was a lot of legitimate clues, lots of extra work. You saw me, I was stressed out of my head because my biggest worry was two things. One, I made it too hard. Two, I made it too easy because I gave loads of clues. But it was good, it was fun to do that, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that aspect a lot.
You were so stressed out before we started the event, and I remember saying, I've got to mic you up, Johann. There's not enough time!
There's not enough time, I'm a corpse! There's not enough time, I'm a corpse, you've got to do it now!
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
But and when you finally went into your corpse position, you almost did a dramatic, I'm dying now, I'm going to fall up like that.
I needed to be comfortable. I was lying on the ground for about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You know. But that
What was that like, by the way, being a corpse for 20 minutes?
Weird.
Because you weren't really supposed to move around. I know you were kind of doing some comical clues now and again. You went, you did
check the seats, and I dropped it over. But no, it was fine when my back was aching. I'm not gonna lie, my back was aching. But that was a lot of fun to do that. And then obviously we had the big introduction. But this was the first time properly for the screening we actually did some live interaction stuff. Like, for example, if anyone in the movie acts suspicious, you're welcome to take a magnifying glass and do a very suspicious noise. Like, for example, do a very weird thinking humming noise like this. Can I hear from everybody? Thank you. Wonderful. Every time you hear a bang, you shout out bang. So if you hear a gun, what do you say? Bang! Thank you. Yeah. Which was great. We talked about whenever there was a murder on screen, you have to shout. You have to say, whenever someone discovers a dead body, you have to shout out murder.
It's not Wadsworth.
Is he alive?
Thank you.
My favourite in terms of the audience interaction was murder, because someone really got into it at one point at the back and was going, murder, like that. It was even though they were doing a whispering kind of voice, it was audible throughout the entire cinema. My favourite one was, my favourite one of those is when every time someone screamed, you have to scream back. Yeah. And there was loads of going, ah, ah! There were loads of people just screaming back at the screen. It was so much fun. It was probably the most fun I've ever watched Clue on the big screen, with a room, about 80% of the cinema was full. Just all raring to go. They were so excited for this. And and for a rightly well-deserved movie, Clue is an absolute classic and should be seen by more people. Yeah, it was definitely the first time I felt like this is Cult Film Club, in terms of what we want to do with this. And it really had that atmosphere of a film club, the midnight screening vibe was going on with all the people joining in. And it was a really good, fun time. Yeah. Really excellent screening, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So should we talk about the movie then? Let's talk about the movie. Yeah.
I am your singing telegram.
Okay, so let's talk about Clue. Now, where we talk about Clue is why it's a cult film in the first place. Let's just say that you feel in a weird way that this should have been this should be a hitter. It is based on a famous board game. It's based on Cluedo. Well, Clue in America, Cluedo everywhere else in the world, right? And you're thinking, okay, people know what Cluedo is, so it shouldn't be a thing. The thing that makes it more cultish is the fact that it was 1985, just before a big turn in comedy was happening. There was already a whole bunch of like the Revenge of the Nerds kind of comedy, you know,
Yeah.
Animal House. That was now becoming the comedy. So this was like old school slapstick you'd probably see in the 50s, right? Or even earlier. So that was already a tonal shift, but then it does the big thing. 3 endings.
Yeah.
Clue. It's a comedy with 3 different endings. Whodunit depends on where you see it. Rated PG.
And I think, in a way, the way the movie was put out in the theatres was its downfall. Because the way it's seen now, whenever it's like either on Blu-ray, like I think the version we watched was a Blu-ray master or something like that. But like you watch it and it has the endings in a sequential kind of format, like after another, like, and it looks like part of the film. It doesn't look like they've just tagged on different endings. It looks like it's because it's based on a game. It looks like, oh, the game could end this way, the game could end that way.
Yeah.
And that is perfect. And I think on TV they show it like that as well.
Yeah.
And I just think that the movie really came into its own on TV, surely.
It did.
Got its cult following from TV.
It got from things on TV and on the DVD, because on the old school DVD and even on Blu-rays, you can do a randomizer mode where you get one of the 3 endings at random, so you'd feel the experience. The 3 endings, though, I mean, this was oddly enough a mastermind of John Landis. He wanted to do this. He wanted to make a movie that had multiple endings.
Yeah.
And how you could do that. So this kind of did. I had loads of other people writing behind it, some famous people, before I went over to Jonathan Lynn, who took it full haul.
I heard though that John Landis, for the life of him, couldn't end the movie. He couldn't. That's why he handed it over.
To a degree, he said he didn't know how to. He felt like he had the ideas and gave it to people, and he just didn't know how to do it properly. He felt like he didn't know how. He loved the concept, and the idea was, hey, those 3 endings, you'd go to the cinema 3 times. But here's the problem: if you didn't like the movie the first time, you're not going to go and watch the movie 2 other times.
And then there's the matter of the film's ending. It has been well advertised by Paramount Pictures that 3 different endings, lasting about 3 minutes apiece, were filmed for this movie, revealing 3 different murderers. Well, think about it. If we know that walking into the movie, then we really can't get too excited about guessing who done it, because, think about it, literally anybody could have done it, and anybody did do it. 3 different people did do it.
Some of the endings aren't too great, so it's like if you saw the best ending, then you'd be like, oh, this is pretty good, you know.
And that's the thing is, and depending on the person, you think, what's the best ending? Because the 3 endings are, you've got the spoilers, everyone. You've got the Miss Scarlet ending.
You've no proof.
The gun is missing. Gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Ladies, empty your purses. Whoever has the gun is the murderer.
Brilliantly worked out, Wadsworth. I congratulate you.
Me too.
Shut up!
The Miss Peacock ending.
Very well. What do you propose to do about it?
Nothing.
And everyone did it ending.
Let's consider each murder 1 by 1.
And I oddly find it that the joke is funnier because, oddly enough, they do some recurring jokes in all of the endings.
So, it is political. You're a communist.
No, Mr. Green. Communism is just a red herring.
For example, or the idea of like, oh, but isn't this and isn't this? No, not at all. This has nothing to do with my nuclear codes or anything of that sort.
I know. I think the film works perfectly as a package when you see everything, rather than it just seeing the ending you prefer. I really liked watching it again. I can't remember because I first discovered this on TV, and I'm just trying to remember whether the version I watched on TV you saw all the endings. I'm pretty sure you did.
I wouldn't be surprised if you did at this point, because now it almost feels like you need to watch all 3 endings, because, like I said, it just feels like it's part of it.
Yeah.
Now, there's the thing that, like I said, the critics aren't very happy with this because it depends on the ending.
Simply strengthen the script and pick the best murder ending of all.
I think it would have been better just to do all 3 endings, because since you're right, it doesn't matter who did it, then why do we only get 1?
And seeing all 3 endings now adds more context to all the silliness of the ending is, and also just adds more comedy. Some of the great acting roles in this, some of the comedy lines in this are outstandingly spot on.
The comedy style reminded me of a lot of 70s comedy, like you know, you got a lot of the rude kind of innuendo type stuff.
Are you being served?
Just having a look.
So's he.
I love how this movie has a recurring joke, and it will milk that joke.
Yeah.
The comedy to me feels a little bit more because of the way they were speaking, and it is part of the research I was doing for Clue, is that Jonathan Lynn and all the budget actually had them to watch His Girl Friday.
Yeah.
The 1930s, you know, Cary Grant, speaky, quick, speak talk. Which makes sense because they're doing a lot of dialogue in this movie. They're doing a lot of pulling of like lots of lines, people talking over each other, and loads of one-liners that you need to be paying attention in order to know, oh, that is a joke. And that was a really funny one because it took a little while to sink in.
Pay attention, everybody. Wadsworth, am I right in thinking there is nobody else in this house?
No.
Then there is someone else in this house.
No, sorry. I said no, meaning yes.
No meaning yes? Look, I want a straight answer. Is there someone else or isn't there? Yes or no?
No.
I think, I mean, I do find the movie funny, but because of my personal taste in comedy, the funniest line in the movie is the only improvised line, which is,
I hated her so much. Flames.
On the side of my face.
That is perfect comedy to me because it's improvised.
Yeah.
And another thing in that scene that's so perfect, not only her performance, when it cuts to Tim Curry and he's trying not to laugh because he knows it's an improvised line. Obviously, this isn't scripted.
Yeah.
But he's like holding it in, not laughing, and that I love seeing people trying not to laugh.
Not to crack.
Yeah.
But there are some things I feel like there are moments where they're extra hamming up. One of my favourite bits is literally the last 20 minutes before the endings where Tim Curry literally does a speed run through the entire movie.
Sitting here at dinner, Mrs. Peacock told us that she was eating one of her favourite recipes.
And monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, are not often to be found in Washington, D.C.
For me, the reason why it's so funny is because he does every ridiculous detail and starts like, you were slurping, and you were doing this, and you were like, woo, and it's like, it's over the top. There's a bit where he says, you grab the knife and you run down the hallway, his hand like this, running and swailing down the hallway. It is so good. It's Tim Curry at his slapstick best, and I would never want that to change. It was amazing.
Oh, you know what? Like Tim Curry's had so many good roles, though. It's difficult to pick one in terms of like what you favorite. I mean, a lot of people do like this role best, but surprisingly, I really love him in Home Alone 2.
Is my transportation here?
Out in front, sir. A limousine and a pizza.
Bye.
Have a lovely day.
Oh, he's great in that. Oh, he's so good in that movie. Tim Curry, that's the thing is, Tim Curry's one of those things that even though it's a bad movie or a weird movie or a flop, he's a standout. Even if you don't see him properly.
Yeah.
Like in Legend, for God's sake. Like, he's under mountains of makeup, and yet he steals the show.
Another thing about that is, unusually, there's a lot of people find him sexy in Legend, which is odd. Have you heard of that?
Yes. Well, he had abs, didn't he? So I don't know, but that's very weird.
He's like quite alluring in a weird way as this demon. Like.
So does it mean that Tim Curry is kind of like a bit of an underrated sex icon? Because then again, he was Dr. Frankenfurter and he knows how to pull off those legs.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
But I feel like this is ideal for everyone here is funny. There's not, for me personally, there's no character in this movie that isn't funny. And they're all funny in their own little weird ways. Like Miss Peacock, I'll talk to some people in the screening, so what's your favorite character? Some of them, I will always go for Mrs. White anyway, because of how deadpan she is.
Yeah.
But I know some people who love Mrs. Peacock because she just loved all the over the reactions and everything.
Maybe he was poisoned.
Oh my God! Or, oh Jesus! Everything's an overreaction to her. So who's your favourite character if you had to pick?
I mean, I do like the flames line.
Yeah.
But I only read that's my favourite line in the movie.
Yeah.
But I've got to go with Tim Curry as my favourite.
I congratulate you.
Me too.
Shut up!
I mean, he's brilliant, and it's overall he's just got all the best bits in my opinion, as a whole. So I would definitely go with him. And it's interesting as well because he's like a character that's added for the movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it's him and the Maid are just added into the movie. They're not in the games originally.
Yeah.
There are some other standouts. I do like Miss Scarlet.
Wadsworth,
Don't hate me for trying to shoot you.
Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn.
I think she's the perfect amount of just tease. She's always the right amount of tease.
Yeah.
And I think she does a fantastic job, which I mentioned in the screening was originally going to be Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
But unfortunately she was in rehab at that point. And while everyone else in the thing were okay to like work by furlough, which means we'll wait a little while till she comes back, the insurance company said no. And said like she's too much of a risk, which is a real shame because I think Carrie Fisher could have done a really good job of this. But yeah, the version of this Scar we got was, I also think, also spot on.
Wasn't Rowan Atkinson supposed to be in it? Well, he's one of the potentials.
He was potentially going to be Wadsworth.
Yeah.
But the problem with that was that he wasn't big enough yet. Like he just cracked Britain.
Yeah, he was massive in the UK at that point.
But maybe not well known enough to hit the US market. And so they went for Tim Curry because Tim Curry is got that kind of similar vibe, at least, but a lot of Americans know who Tim Curry is.
Yes.
So it works out better.
Yeah. What do you think of another line that I don't know why I'd forgotten about it, but when...
Okay, Chief, take him away. I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
Now I'm gonna go home and sleep with
my wife. Right.
Let's talk about that because
Mr. Green.
Because some of the homophobic stuff is like maybe have dated slightly. Like, well, it's not really homophobic, but it's kind of like the homosexual jokes kind of thing.
Yeah, because the whole point in this is that everyone's getting blackmailed by Mr. Body, which is perfect.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that Mr. Green, his confession, he says like, look, I work a government state job, and I'm a homosexual, and because of that, I cannot have that exposed.
Yeah.
And there are a few little moments where someone, like let's say a male, like I think it was Mr. Plum, the first time Mr. Plum just kind of stands up immediately and talks before sitting next to him.
Yes.
But the thing is, him being a gay man, it's not really much of a problem in any other time other than that, other than say a couple of lines saying like, you know, oh, I always thought you were meant to be a fruit, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it's not pushed in enough, like it's not like, oh, let's rag on the gay character, but just a little bit to make him a bit more quirky. The idea he's actually quite scared, like he's a little bit of a scaredy cat in that sense.
Yeah.
But then afterwards leaning into the other line saying, well, okay, so he's a scaredy cat gay, and then he comes out in the third ending as the tough FBI guy who has a wife. And it's just perfect comedy timing because there has been no other clue of anything else after that. So it's been perfect timing.
There's a bit where the maid is scared and all the men like rush around her.
Bon, d'accord. But it is dark upstairs and I am frightened of the dark. Will anyone go with me?
I will.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
He's not having any of it.
Can someone help me? No, thanks. It's fine. I'm stuck with Yvette. But yeah, it's really, really funny. I think the way it works and structured is that it understands long-running jokes. It knows, but to some people, having a joke that kind of leans and eggs a bit too long might put some people off, which I can understand because let's say the poop joke at the beginning is a continuous joke. Yeah. Like every character responds to it, and that's like the first 10 minutes of the same joke. By a certain point, you're thinking, do we need to make this joke again? It was funny the first time round.
I do like repetition on jokes. I think they do it enough, but like it never gets annoying to me, so they just know when to stop, I think, with that joke, because it's not, I didn't get fed up with it. But what was I going to say? I was going to say, I think this movie is a perfect sort of, like, it's a perfect movie for kids, really. And it's surprisingly a murder mystery, but like it's a good gateway movie for like, that kind of thriller kind of murder movie, because it's you don't really see any kind of like violence in it or anything, but it's got a bit of that spooky atmosphere, the spooky house, and with like murders are happening, but it
feels a little adult but not fully adult.
The reason why I say this is when I was a kid, I found that it was a movie that, oh, this is like an adult movie that I can enjoy, and it's a movie with murder in it that I can watch, and it's completely fine.
Yeah, it is a good gateway movie.
Yeah.
It's enough for even though the humor is a bit more adult, it's it's like the kind of adult that if you were with like a 12-year-old, which would happen at the screening, you feel a little bit more like, ooh, okay, I'm watching something a little bit more adult, a little bit more than what I'm usually allowed to watch. But it's still a PG. And that was also a very nice surprise to realize that it's a PG and you can take your kids to this, because I think that really opens up the boundaries that way. So, just to sort of wrap it up on here, I think we all are in good discussion that Clue should be seen by most people and should be seen with all 3 endings. But I want to ask you one final just joke question before we look into what we're going to do next time, which is, if you had to make a board game if you want to make a movie out of a board game, which board game would it be?
I was thinking about it. I was just thinking about it the other way around. Like,
if you turn a movie into a board game?
Yeah.
Okay, so what movie would you turn into a board game?
I know that a lot of these have been done, like especially recently, but I'd love a Ring game.
As in The Ring?
Yeah.
As in scary person out of a TV?
I mean, they've done an Alien board game.
Yes.
And I suppose it'd be similar to that, where you've got like the Sudoku is obviously always going around the board, like and randomised. Like you roll the dice, and that's how many positions that Sudoku will go round, and always stalking you. Kind of.
And I love the idea. Maybe perhaps they could be teleporting from TV to TV like that. They could be coming out of the TVs every so often. I love that. That could work. Well. So
while you tell me yours, I'll think of another one the other way around.
Well, for me, I was thinking which one would be sillier. Which one would be like intense? Because there have been some weird movies as of late. Like there's Tetris the movie, which isn't anything about Tetris, but I wanted to be something similar to it. So I thought, which game would be the weirdest one to do? And I thought, got it, Scrabble.
Scrabble.
You're not so moved, my beauty. I'd rather be playing Scrabble. I'd rather be playing Scrabble.
Stay home and play Scrabble. Leave home with Travel Scrabble, or give deluxe Scrabble brand crossword game a spin.
Okay, think of Scrabble, right?
Yeah.
But think of Scrabble like you've got like this crossword champion, right? This crossword champion. They'd be going in and they say like, oh, and someone said, oh, you seem to be pretty good at this. Maybe perhaps you should go and play this. They play Scrabble. Scrabble gets more and more intense. Eventually get to a Scrabble tournament. It gets bigger and bigger. Then he has nightmares about words. So it's like, I need to get the triple word score. It becomes a full sports movie with nothing but people trying to put the letter Q in things. And it becomes a whole 80s like sports movie entirely out of Scrabble. That's how I would do that. Hollywood, pay me for that. I'd do that.
I think I find it really difficult to think of one because I don't think it's a concept that should be approached.
To be honest, they tried it with Battleship.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it's loosely just you put the brand of it on it, and then you can make up what story you like. But with Cluedo, it's kind of like there's already kind of a loose story sort of there, really, with characters. You can kind of...
There's a narrative in there.
Yes.
Well, something like Monopoly is just not going to be a fun thing to watch.
No.
Fair, but dibs on Scrabble. And I think maybe this is your pitch to get The Ring as a board game now.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love that. I'm just still trying to think of stuff. For some reason, all of weird kid board games are coming to my head. Like, just imagine a movie of Mousetrap. Mousetrap would be amazing! Just like, you're actually in that kind of like scenario, like for real. Like,
it's so basic. It's not even mice anymore. It's just people, and it's just a crazy mad scientist going, "You are going to go through my mousetrap." I'd love that. See,
but I just kind of picture it as some kind of Squid Game situation.
I love it. Connect 4. Oh my God, Connect.
Pop-up pirate.
Pop-up pirate.
Ha! Here's a gank of treasure, me buckos. Pop-up pirate. Whichever lily-livered landlubber might pop-up pirate pop-up is out of the game. Oh,
Buckaroo. Oh, just a movie about a really intense mule. Just like, don't go near that horse. Don't go near that buckaroo. He knocks everything over. Just goes on a murderous rampage by kicking people in the face.
Yeah, so I haven't really got any serious answer. I'm just thinking of comedy answers.
And you know what? At the end of the day, maybe that's what these should be. Cluedo, being Clue, was a comedy because you already can think of at the end of the day, like you try and take Cluedo seriously. It's going to be a bit dumb. So lean into that. They know it's a board game. And so you know what? Maybe we should be having the Pop-Up Pirate movie. Maybe my idea of Scrabble's too serious. No, Pop-Up Pirate and Buckaroo. That's what we want.
Just want 90 minutes of a pirate in a barrel.
Which scallywag will make the pirate pop?
People sticking swords in it.
Why are you doing this to me? I will come back for revenge.
That ends up being some kind of torture porn movie.
It's like Saw. Oh, I love it. 10 out of 10. Would watch that. Right. But yeah. So that was Clue. I'm glad everyone seemed to have enjoyed Clue. It was a really good time for a screening. Yeah, we're doing one very soon, actually, because it's Pride Month in June when we're doing this. So we wanted to do something to celebrate it. And I want this to be something more on a regular basis. I want to do a screening on Pride every June. And so for this case then, we are thinking of doing Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
I have come upon in my travels, I have to think about the people who have come upon me. How many times do I have to tell you? You don't put a bra in a dryer! It warps! It's a car wash, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, have you seen this movie before?
I have seen it. Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was like probably when it came out.
Yeah.
On sort of video around that.
Yeah, because it was like the early 2000s around this time when it came out. It's a really good film.
I don't remember much about it because it's so long ago. I just remember the music's great and it's really funny. That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's funny, lots of good music, and it's got a lot of interesting questions about, quite at the head of its time, about gender identity. You know, because Hedwig is a person who doesn't identify as a man, doesn't identify as a woman, and doesn't know what the heck they are. It's nowadays, it's something that's now been explored, and the idea of being gender fluid or non-binary. This almost feels like a precursor to that. So it's kind of perfect to be playing on Pride Month. I cannot wait, and I'm not going to lie, we're going to we're going to try and have song sheets so everyone can sing along. And I'm actually going to get a wig in a box, so we can actually. I'm going to try and find the proper Farrah Fawcett blonde wig, so someone can win that as a prize.
Excellent.
Can't wait. So it's a lot of fun, and there'll be some more surprises along the way. So if you can attend. These, it's in the Quad in Derby. It's usually every month or every 2 months, and you can go onto their website, or you can go right there in person, go in and buy the tickets right there and then. They're not too pricey. It's a fun little 2 hours if you're in the area, and I strongly recommend it.
Well, we had some great feedback from the last one. A lot of people were saying that they weren't expecting the amount of effort that we put in for it, because it isn't just going to watch a film. It's an experience. You know?
You want it to be more of an experience. You want people to feel like stuff like that. You know, that's why I make the effort to do like little cute things. Like for Buckaroo, I literally made baseball cards. You know, for Pink Flamingos, everyone had a sick bag. You know, for all these little things that's gonna aid in making something out of it, you know, and making something a little special. With Clue, we did a goddamn murder mystery, and so with this one, you can get a wig in a box, and it'll be quite fun. So.
Right, okay, I think that's all for now, Johann. Do you want to ask for some comments?
Well, yeah, I would like to ask first of all, what did you think of Clue? Could drop your comments down below on that one, because I really would like to get the perspective on if other people like the endings. Is there a particular favourite ending? Also, just like Ed was a bit stumped before, which kind of board game would you turn into a movie? Like I said, dibs on Scrabble. And finally, one thing I wanted to ask.
Nothing will beat Pop-Up Pirate.
Nothing will beat a Pop-Up Pirate, personally, but see if you can beat that. But the other thing is that we've already been doing this now for quite a bit of time, and I'm hoping you really are enjoying these videos, and hope the ones who are attending as well onto screenings, I hope you're enjoying them. But we want to make more of these, and we actually want your suggestions at the moment of what kind of films would you want to see on the big screen that fits the mold of the Cult Film Club. You know, are there any cult films or movies that I think need a little bit more appreciation to be shown on the big screen once again? So if you have any suggestions, please write them down in the chat and in the comments, and I could have those as considerations for future screenings, perhaps.
What does it have to be to qualify as a cult film?
Interesting. So it needs to be a movie that everyone seems to like but didn't do well in the cinema. It also needs to be a movie that feels maybe not as mainstream as you expect. Like it feels a bit oddball or a bit weird or a bit different. It might be a movie that was critically panned but now suddenly has an audience.
Yeah.
Like we have some ideas for a few of those, for example. And a movie that is just its own unique thing. Something that you cannot tell to anyone else, yeah, this is other movies have done this like before. So there's several ways you can get into this. So yeah, I think that broadens it out a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Cool. That's it then. See you on the next one. Take care.
Adios.